Here's Kobe, the winner of the Comic Artist Pro Professional Art Supplies giveaway. Congratulations, Kobe. You look like just the type of guy I wanted to give the art supplies to. A young man with a bright future ahead of him in illustration. Good luck. Draw great things. Hey, welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I'm Ethan Van Sciver. This is another brutally honest portfolio review. This is number 3 in a continuing series. I'm getting so many submissions. And again, I have to say, a lot of the submissions that I'm receiving are professional, if not damn near professional. Those of you who are sending me professional or pages or stuff that's about to be published, I don't want to review it. Really, it seems to me that you've gotten to the point where you're getting your work published. It's just not that interesting to kind of go over by me. At that point, it's like you've gotten where you need to be. I don't know what kind of help I'm going to be to you. Having said that, if there are ways that I can be helpful, I will try to do that. But in most cases, let's stick to the amateurs, if you don't mind. Okay, so brutally honest portfolio review. What do I mean by brutally honest? Well, that means that I'm not looking you eye to eye, and I am not worried about hurting your feelings. By sending me your portfolio, you're kind of agreeing that, you're keeping your feelings in check, and you're going to take this as a professional critique. You're not going to get mad at me for for being too mean to you, or anything like that. This is going to be kind of hardcore, and really, what you're mostly volunteering for is something that will hopefully help you. But also help other people who are watching this. This isn't blood sports. I'm not out to hurt anyone's feelings or, make negative entertainment in the vein of Simon Cowell or anything like that. Just out to kind of criticize comic book artwork and maybe have it be a learning experience. So meet Cesar. I believe it's pronounced Cesar. It's C-E-S-A-R. It could be Caesar, but I think it's Cesar. He has turned in some really, really professional looking work, and look at this. I mean, basically he looks a lot like maybe a Todd Knock, more like a Mark Bagley kind of style. His work is very, very nice. It's clean, and it presents a lot of information. I think that what we can say about Cesar is that he's working overtime to give you things to look at, to give your eye information about location, and the types of people that are in this are in his scenes and the world that they inhabit. I mean, this is wonderful. Look, there's a pair of prize fighting gloves up here. I don't know if they belong to, probably they don't belong to the bartender, but that's a good question where those come from. There's a kind of Thunderbird with a T in the middle of it. There's a picture of an old man back here on the wall. You can look and you can see there seem to be prostitutes all over the place. There's a nice Mexican band playing and some sleazy looking men. This guy here is drunk. And is he vomiting? He's throwing up on the counter. He's noticing the vomit. So is this guy. And then we have what appear to be our two heroes right here, who are just, they look like they could be Marines, kind of just enjoying a night out. They've had something to eat. They've finished. Now they're taking shots, and really, really cool. Good. I mean, a lot of information, a lot of good details here. Perspective is at least here. I mean, it's pretty on point. You'll notice that you see. Okay, so this is 2-point perspective. Yes, 2-point. We've got the horizon line right about here. And it's good because, as you can see, the horizon line cuts across everybody kind of at the same, my pencil's going down, at the same point. Okay, so if everyone is roughly the same height, which they're not, and they're standing, the horizon line is going to kind of meet them right here. And we are, like, the horizon line, again, also represents the eye line of the spectator. So we just walked into this room, okay? Like the camera, we walked into this room and we are eye to eye with this gentleman back here. We're eye to eye with the band. People who are sitting down, obviously, are underneath our eye line because they're sitting, and they are indeed resting right below the horizon line. So that's very, very good. Very good indeed. And again, it's interesting that we walk in here and this isn't from a fancy kind of perspective like we are God's eye or worm's eye view. We are just walking into this place and meeting people. So good job there. Yeah, there's some problems, drawing problems. We've got to work on our faces here. We've got to work on the shape of our skull and this boxy kind of head here. We need to work on our eyes. We need to also work on our hands. This hand appears to be holding the cup kind of like this, and rather than, if I were you, honestly, it might seem like extra trouble, but it'll really pay off to actually, you have a hand, you can probably get yourself a shot glass and just hold the shot glass, hold it, and then take a quick picture of it. And then you can actually reference the way the hand holds something like a shot glass, and get the fingers wrapped around it. And the way it'll work is this finger will kind of come up here a little bit. The middle finger might wrap around it, and then these fingers will kind of be left to dangle a little, if they won't touch the glass. So you'll get a more realistic looking hand. And we've got the same problem here with the guy tipping his hat and this kind of stubby thumb. I'm not crazy about the way. All right, see this is a very particular thing, but it bothers me. See this big fat line here that's going under his upper lip? Choose one. Either a fat line here, because we're actually looking down into his mouth in a little way. It's like we can see most of his bottom lip. From this angle where he's kind of tilted his head down, we'll see his bottom lip and not much of his upper lip. We'd keep this line thinner and we'd keep this line slightly thicker. Okay, so the bottom lip would be, or the line right here underneath his mouth would be heavier. This line would be bigger. Now you've got, your inker is using just, line weights however he wants to. The wrinkles on the shirt are really nice. This line here, this heavy line on his neck. Line weights are also, especially when they're used inside of something, like when you use a heavy line weight around a figure, it's to kind of pull them out of the background and put them into the foreground. But when you actually use lines inside of the object, they're used to kind of denote where the light source is. And it seems to me, although the light source isn't all that well indicated, you're asking a lot of the colorist. It seems to me that the light source is up here, and our clue is mostly this bicep here, and the heavier kind of shadow right there. That makes sense to me, of course, because it's inside, and so there's going to be light above them. Making this heavy here, what you've accidentally done is you put a shadow behind this muscle in his neck, where the shadow should be on this side. You understand? So this should be thin to non-existent of a line, and it should be heavier here. And all of these choices that you make with line weights, everywhere that you put them, they're going to buttress up your indicated light source. You're insisting, in a drawing, you're kind of insisting, where the light is. You're saying, hey, it's right up here. And you've got to kind of back that up with evidence in everything that you do. So if the light source is up here and it's casting this kind of shadow on his bicep, well, I know it looks like you're the kind of guy who's going to leave most of the shadow work to the colorist. But there'd be a shadow coming off the bottle here a little bit, one on the plate there. Like his arm. Just make a conscious decision where that light source is, and then indicate it over and over and over again in everything around you. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do shadows with blacks like that. But if you're not going to do that, you can't fight it with or contradict it with your line work. Okay, really good. Your people are kind of short and stubby, but that might just be a stylistic choice. You see this woman here. She's basically proportioned close to accurately. She's got kind of a childish kind of shaped head here. And then as she sits, her legs become really small, and that's a common mistake that some artists make, where they kind of keep the top of the person kind of in proportion, and then they kind of chicken out with the legs. This guy looks good. You've got a tendency to make heads too big for the bodies that they're sitting on, just slightly. Nice. What would have been really cool is if you had been a daredevil and actually put the time of day on his watch. That would have been even more information for someone wondering, is this in the middle of the night or is this in the middle of the afternoon? You've got so much information here and then a blank watch. That's a little nitpick. All right, so we throw back our drinks. My question is, have these guys suddenly gotten closer together? Keep in mind that you've established the distance between them. Let's just take a look here. Yeah, see how far apart their heads are? Suddenly they're kind of closer. You could actually push them off the side, the border here. I would push this guy back. It's not a big problem. It's just a subtle kind of comic booky mistake. But it did kind of lose me a little bit when I saw it. Better hand here. This is much, much better than the one over there. I like this finger. I like this finger here. These are fine. I like the thumb foreshortened. It looks like you actually did use reference here. It's not perfect. But it's much better. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if this is how people actually drink shots. Is it? You just just throw back your head, open your mouth, and kind of dump it in. I don't know. Again, these are things that you want to reference because you don't normally draw stuff like this. People don't naturally want to draw dudes taking shots. So again, a mirror, a camera, just take a look at what it actually looks like. Where does the glass sit, when you're doing a shot, etc., etc. All right, so we kick back here. Just finished our shot. Yahoo! We're slamming it down on the table. We get a sense that this dude so we've now separated them basically. Suddenly the light source is pretty well indicated, and apparently it is way above them, and it's coming down hard. Now this guy has been blacked out to push him into the foreground and to retain focus on this guy. So I assume that the plan is to give him the dialogue here. We don't want to look at him. We want to look at him. This is kind of harsh, like this black lighting here. It's kind of harsh. And then what's doubly weird is then we go to the next panel and see how this guy he's got the heavy shadows on him. Then suddenly we have this and we have this. These guys are both looking in the same direction, and they both have the same amount of kind of dark black shadows on their faces. And we think that this is him. Our brain tells us that this is a natural progression. All of these things are subtle. If you are going to put this kind of shadow on him suddenly, all of a sudden, and then do this, you are sending a subliminal message to the reader that these are the same person, and we know that's not true. So instead, what you're trying to say is that this dude is turning his head to look this way, and he sees all of these. He sees this guy with a girl. Something bothers him, maybe, about what's going on here. All right, so we gotta redraw this. This is one of those moments where we kind of redraw a little bit. And this means I also have to bend this thing. All right, look. So we started off with this guy here. We want to indicate that he's turned his head. Let's not be lazy. Let's not just show his just a super close in profile, because it's very confusing. It would be much simpler. We've got the table here. We've indicated that. Let's just go ahead and let's cut this dude out, the dude in silhouette, and let's just kind of zoom in on this guy, same guy. He's lit up in the panel. He's all whited out. Let's bring his arm down from his head where he was scratching his head a little bit. Maybe put his hand up here. He's bringing his hand down to the table. This is one continuous action. And he's kind of looking over here, okay? And that's when we see, this dude over here making trouble with a girl. All right? Now you could zoom in on this a little bit, but really in order to connect this scene to this scene, this isn't going to work. It might have worked had you taken the silhouette out, believe it or not. And I know what you're doing. You put that silhouette in there basically just to push him into the foreground. And occasionally that works, but here it doesn't for the reasons that I just explained. All right, let me get this refocused. It's confusing. It's very confusing. And then we cut to this. Now, is this him? Suddenly he's got freckles. All this stuff matters. I mean, all this stuff really matters. You can't. Okay, so this guy, and this guy are all the same person, and that's hard to realize. And he's standing up now. That's not a person who's sitting. That's a person who's standing. All right, so what we would need to do really is we'd need to put freckles on him from the start. We'd need to put freckles on him right there, or we'd need to lose the freckles altogether. You see what I mean? You have to be consistent. You have to keep your light source consistent. I mean, suddenly, if this is the... all right. I hope I'm being clear. I'm just kind of looking back and forth and trying to kind of solve this problem here. I guess he's talking to his friend again. Like all right, so he's noticed this trouble here, and then he's turned his head back. I mean, honestly, keep the camera right where it was. Do what I did with the second panel. Keep him as a mid kind of shot here. Keep it there. Pull him out. Just kind of tilt the camera a little bit here. Tilt his head, and then return back. You could just basically return right back to this same shot, except now his face has some concern on it. Okay, and that would have made this scene make a lot more sense. It would have read better. Oftentimes, just keeping the camera where it is, especially during what is basically a static scene, is a good idea. All you're trying to do here is you're not trying to be interesting. You're trying to be interesting here with all the different shots. You're not trying to be interesting. What you need to do is just tell the story. So we just did a shot. Ha ha ha! Isn't that cool? Hey, what is this guy doing? He's up to no good, isn't he? Yo, that dude, blah blah blah. I don't know. Maybe somebody should sort out that dude. Okay, so this shot should have almost been repeated 3 times with minor variations. Suddenly, it looks like his friend gets up, and I guess he's saying, "Hey, I'm going to get you another drink." And we've got his head way down here. Suddenly this guy is floating in midair. Let's look at this. Perspective. Let's see, my friend here, his feet would be right here. Yeah, my dude is floating. All right, why is that? Okay. He's got the horizon line right here at crotch level. I mean, or just below crotch level, essentially. He's got to, in order for that to work out. So at no point when people are sitting at a bar are they going to be at crotch level to you if you're standing next to them. So you see that if the horizon line is here, it's cutting through these people kind of at eye level for the most part. Again, we're still sitting at the table the way he has this positioned. We're right next to him. And suddenly this guy gets up and he's like 10 feet tall or he's floating in midair. Bring him down. My dude, when you stand up, you'd have to do this little measurement for yourself. I think his chest might be right about here. His head might be right about here. So this is an unsettling panel. I know what you wanted to do. Here's probably what your problem was. You drew him first, and then you were trying to fit everyone else in the panel. So you drew him first, you drew the perspective, and then you went, oh, I got to get this guy like an over-the-shoulder shot of him. And so, yeah, where do I put it without covering up his hand here? If I raised his hat a little bit, it would be covering this drink. So this is the thing. You compromised and goofed up the perspective big time. I know. I feel you. I know where you're coming from. All right. So third page. He's walking away. And now we've got our cowboy at the bar. And you can see that we have now completely we've reversed angles. We've come around this way. He's still walking up to the bar. And he's still scowling at this dude. He doesn't like this dude here. He doesn't like what he's up to. Yeah, and then we switch POVs so quickly. This needed an in-between panel. We needed a close-up of his face looking, okay? So what is he looking at? Like, he's scowling. He's very upset over here at this guy. Why? So we do another inset shot maybe, or just another panel here of his face looking straight at us. What's he looking at? And then we can cut to what he's looking at. It looks like he's looking at the kissing of her hand, and then it looks like he's looking at this necklace, more importantly. We don't make that connection because we're witnessing them, and then suddenly, because our eyes are brought here, we're not being told, we're not being instructed in any way that we are about to hit his point of view shot, which we suddenly do. All right, so we need a face here looking, and then we see what he's looking at. Okay, we scroll back. This panel here should have been there. In fact, that's it. I mean, that would solve this problem. Move this panel there. You don't have to have this panel again. You can go ahead and do this, and then you can cut to an even closer shot of the necklace, and then you can cut to this shot of him without freckles. Wait a second. These are the same guy, right? Huh. Or not? Am I wrong? Is that not the same guy? It's got to be the same guy. All right. This is really confusing. This is extremely confusing. All right. So then we cut back to the guy who looks like he's a Marine. He's up at the bar, just fine. These guys are looking at him. They look stupid. They're going to give this guy trouble. I wouldn't give this guy trouble. He's ordering a drink, and this guy, is he sitting? I guess he's crouched down. He's getting something out from under the bar. Good. And then suddenly we do the same thing again. We snap around 180 degrees. This is a no-no in storytelling. See what I'm saying? Look, okay, so we look here. We're looking at him this way. He's ordering the drink. And then suddenly, boom, 180 degrees. We're on the other side of him, and we're looking here. This isn't a good shot. This is confusing. You need to take some time to rotate around a character. Doing this really confuses the eye and makes you think that you're looking at someone brand new. This is all basic storytelling stuff. So maybe what I would have done is I would have brought the camera around from behind the bartender's head, so we're looking straight on at this guy. We'd be looking over his head, so we'd have that down here, and then we'd be looking down, looking up at him, who's putting up the two, like, hey, two more right here, okay? And then we could still probably see these guys off to the side. Yeah. And then I would have done the same thing. I would have kept the shot there. I would have had him now turn around, turn his back, and we'd see just his back and his shoulders. And these guys are hooting and hollering over here at him. That's a great face. Good job. Yeah. Again, 180 degree turn, which, I mean, I lost him. You can't do that. You can't just switch 180 degrees all the time like that. It's confusing. All right. Last page. Where'd it go? Here it is. All right. Now, this is super confusing. Suddenly, I think these are the same guy, but I can't be sure. Okay, you're having a problem with consistency. I mean, these characters never look the same. This guy's jaw is much thinner, his face is, and this guy's much older, much tougher. Not only that, suddenly it's almost as if somebody had a flashlight under him, and then the flashlight went away, and the opposite. It's like a floodlight came down over the top of his head. This is a no-no. Unless he's exerting some kind of power here. If his head is on fire or something like that suddenly, that would be one thing. But he's probably just saying, yo, what's your problem? And then boom, you want to fight? I don't know what. But the lighting changes. Everything is 180 degrees, like over and over again. The lighting changes 180 degrees and it screws everything up. It makes it so that these are two different people. In fact, it looks like this guy is watching this guy on TV. He's looking like he's at home looking at his computer monitor and he's like, what's he going to do next? Well, I'm going to do this next. These are not the same person, not the same room, not the same moment. These guys are scared. The inking's different here. Interesting. This looks like someone else inked it. And this too, yeah. The inking's a little bit more rough. He says something that scares these guys, and I guess he pays. And this guy says something to him, and then, is this money? Is he leaving money? That doesn't look like money, but okay. Yeah, you got it. I don't know. I mean, I guess you're gonna draw money in here later, or actually scan money and put it in there, but that's just not the way money falls on or looks like when you put it on a table. It's kind of curly. It's never flat like envelopes with letters in it. Yeah. Okay. That is. I think that's the end of it. That is Cesar's submission. Now, yeah, B- if I'm your teacher. Oops, can't show you that. B- if I'm your teacher. It is. Yeah, it's good. It's pretty to look at. You've got a lot of things going that I'm proud of you for. This establishing shot splash page by itself is really a treat. It's fun to look at. You have to work on clarity of storytelling. Again, another big criticism is use photo reference a little more to ground things in reality, such as these hands and the money on the last page. That's good. Watch your 180 degree turns of the camera and keep your characters consistent. This guy has freckles and he doesn't have freckles. Those freckles are such a big deal. Those freckles are a big deal because when they show up, because your characters are so simple, those characters become a big important feature and they make him a different person from him. I mean, I can't even tell you how big of a deal that is. It's very, very confusing. Freckles here, no freckles there. No freckles there. But freckles here for some reason. Yeah, a lot of it is just basic, like where to put the camera, how to tell the story. When you are going to switch to someone's point of view. Let's say we've got kind of a scene here. We see this dude back here. This is us right now, okay? Here's an easy way to explain this. This is the viewer is just sitting in the bar watching this happen, according to this panel. We're sitting behind these guys. We see them doing their thing. We see them doing their thing. We're just kind of, a passive viewer here. Now, you're asking us suddenly to switch to his point of view. We're going to see through his eyes all of a sudden. In order to do that, you do need to cut to a close-up of him looking intently. And then our brains say subliminally, what is he looking at so intently? Next panel. He's looking at that necklace. And then we zoom in and we show even closer what the necklace is, what he's looking at. And then we can show his reaction to the necklace. Okay, so he sees it, like he's looking at it. We see what he's looking at. We look closer at what he's looking at. We cut back to his reaction so we know how to feel about it. Okay? All right, very good. So Cesar, great job. Thank you for your submission. Anybody else who would like to be critiqued for a brutally honest portfolio review? There are two ways to do it. You can either email me between 4 and 6 pages of sequential art, no pinups, no covers. You can either email it or you can DM it to me on Twitter. I am at Ethan Van Sciver, all one word, of course. and I will. I don't know. I mean, I look at some of them and I go, I'm not going to do this, and I throw it out. The ones that I keep in my folder, I'll just choose one at random. I just chose Cesar at random. There's no reason why Cesar got picked. I just went, I'm going to do a portfolio review. I grabbed one and I looked at it. So, I'm showing absolutely no prejudice in terms of who's more likely to get picked. You are less likely to get picked if you are a pro, and you are less likely to get picked. You will not get picked if your work is just, not there at all. Not there at all. So those are the standards. I want to thank everyone for the super chats. Thank everyone for liking my videos. I mean, if you were a big fan and you couldn't afford a super chat, you couldn't afford to be a Patreon, what you could do is you could just go through all my videos and like them. Just hit like. That really helps the algorithm on YouTube. It helps just as much as money does. It gets my videos out there and lets more people see them. So thank you everyone for everything that you do. And there's going to be a drawing video today. I've already started it. So there's going to be a drawing video up a little bit later. Everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.
In the 8C.